Good evening, Morai Rabotai, Bruchim Habayim, to another edition of our Mesillat Yesharim. And we are in Perek Dalit, in discussion of Kniyat HaZehirut, how to acquire Bederech Kniyat HaZehirut. How do you acquire the great, invaluable midah of being what we call mindfulness? What we call Zehirut is much more than the terminology of mindfulness nowadays, is being completely alert, a purposeful life, that every moment of it is accounted for. It sounds pretty difficult, but as we mentioned before, this is something that actually is very much achievable, and Mesillat Yesharim puts this as the beginner level, the first level, if you want to climb up the ladder towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, towards success in any way in life. As we mentioned, you really need to start with this GPS system, the God's positioning system, we called it. You have to know where you're holding, you have to know where you're headed, you have to know the shortest path that takes you from point A to point B, and of course, the most important and the most often dismissed level is you have to have constant satellite connection. You have to have constant checking every moment. Where am I? What turn did I make? Was this the right turn or the wrong turn? And if you did make a wrong turn, to come back on path before you go too far and too much away. So that satellite connection is the checking of a person, his path, is to keep true to your goals. Most of us, we have goals that are good. It will be difficult to find a person that you ask them, what do you want to do in life? And they are clueless. Now, many people will tell you the wrong things. And those are some difficult questions that the person has to ask himself. What am I doing exactly in my life? When I become 70 and 80 and look back, where do I want to see myself? You know, in the words of Michael Josephson, if you would be a fly on the wall in your own funeral, what do you want to hear? And if you write all of those down and you categorize them to 3 different categories, those are your lifetime goals. Those are your long-term goals in life. And then you get to live life backwards now that you know what's important. So that's knowing the goal. And you have to assess properly where you're holding. Many people overestimate or underestimate themselves. They live in a fantasy sometimes, thinking that they are something that they're not. Or sometimes they are too shy to explore their actual potential inside, and because they themselves or their parents or the society has told them that they can't, they never really, we mentioned this as an elephant in the rope syndrome. You have an African elephant could grow up to 14,000 pounds, and they are beasts of labor in many places in the world even now. And they could log thousands, over 1,000 pounds easily, break trees, carry things in the growth, in the jungles and so on, and they do it for the whole day. And yet, at night, the master ties them to a little rope with a small peg in the ground, and they won't even try. They'll stay there like a good boy until the morning. They would never run away. They would never try to rip this. Whereas the truth is, with one little pull, they could rip the rope, and they could also pull the peg out. They could do both. But they don't. And the reason is because when the African elephant is born, it's just 250 pounds. And from the very get-go, the master, the trainers, they put this peg in the ground, or this rope, and they put it to their foot. And the poor baby elephant tries so many times. And at some point, it gives up. And it creates a blockage in their mind, in their brain, that this I cannot do. The trees I could do. The massive loads I could do. That's a blockage that they have. And we have our own blockages. And many times we don't even try things that we have to be trying. Things that easily could be done. When the sprinters, when they have this short distance that they have to run, and I don't remember exactly what it was, a mile, I don't remember exactly how much it was, but the record was never broken to a certain limit. And some guy, I think was in Oxford, it was not even an official thing. He ran it exactly under that amount. Again, I should have looked this up. This is a famous thing. You could look it up. And within 3 weeks afterwards, 4 other people did it. For years, no one could do it. For years, no one could do it. And once this guy did it in an unofficial setting, all of a sudden 4 other people did it. Within the year afterwards, I think it was close to 100 or 200 people did it. Because it was broken. It was broken. That blockage, the mental blockage was broken. So you have to properly estimate what you are, not underestimate, not overestimate. You have to have a clear goal in life. You have to decide how I'm going to get from this point to that point, and without getting too much defocused and go off tangent. But then you have to keep track. And that's what he said before. You have to get inspired. You have to learn the stories of Chazal, the stories of Tanakh, and Gemara, things that inspire a person. Living an inspired life is half the job. You have to be inspired. You can't just give up on yourself. You know what's midlife crisis? What is midlife crisis? When you're young, you're excited, right? And you want to do this, you want to do that. There's so many goals and aspirations that the person has. And then you fail here, you fail there, you fail. Sometimes you get to the 40s, and there's this moment of truth. They look and say, I haven't done all those aspirations. I go, where am I headed? Half life is gone. So subconsciously the person gives up on many of the aspects. That's signing a person's death. So you have to be inspired, but at the same time, the inspiration that the person has, the Mesillat Yesharim divided into 3 different categories. So there are the smart people, the really uniquely smart people. For them it's easier to stay inspired because they want to be perfect. If I could be perfect, I want to be perfect. I want to be lacking, right? But then, and that's what we discussed last shiur. But then Mesillat Yesharim says, and this is what we're going to start today, in Ot Gimel here in my Mesillat Yesharim, Ach lapechuti me'ele. Right? What page is it on the art scroll is 71. Ach lapechuti me'ele. Now, the people, the most of the humanity, the people who are a little bit less than this elite group, says the Mesillat Yesharim, it's going to be based on their understanding of their situation in life. The comparison that the person has with their own lifestyle in the world, physical lifestyle. You know, people do all kinds of things because of status and because of jealousy of other people. If you research, the top research shows that close to 80% of people admit to jealousy, to envy. Or maybe slightly more in women than maybe about 3 or 4% more in women than men. But that's about it. And that's the people who blatantly, openly admit that they live their life with envy. They can't take it when somebody else is more successful than them. It drives them crazy. It takes their sleep away. Especially if it's a person that is close to you, is your neighbor, and now he has this car, and you don't have it. And imagine if you were classmates, and now he made it. Specifically, if he was the classmate that you always said, this guy will never make it, and now he's made it, much bigger than you. How do you feel about that? You want to kill yourself or him. Like, you can't take it. And this is real. People live envious of other people for their success. The Gemara says, "Melamed shekol uman sonet umanut b'chavero." Every craftsman, every person that's in a certain field hates the other people in that field because there's a competition. Why do you have competition? Because you're envious. You want to be successful. And you measure your success with other people. Now, this is not necessarily a true way of living, right? It's not a good thing. So Shlomo Melech says, "Urkav atzamot kinah." Kinah is not necessarily the best of things, right? The much, actually doing the Orchot Yosher now, the midah of kinah. But there's a lot to be said about the negative things of kinah. But we could relate to it. Could relate to the fact that if we are confronted with other people who we know, people who we thought we could be better, at least we're equals, and they actually apply themselves and make something real out of themselves, and we could have done all the things that they did. It's not like they hit the jackpot. Even if they would hit the jackpot, we would be jealous. But they did the regular things that everyone could do. And they made it big. Says the Yesharim, "Ki ze pashut etzel kol ba'al dat." Any person that understands, he knows, anyone that believes in basic schar va'onish, basic tenets of Yiddishkeit, of Judaism, that what you do matters. And if you do good, like Hashem said to Cain in the very beginning of Bereshit, in Tetiv Se'et, if you do good, you reap the benefits. If you don't, you also will reap the consequences. You write your own check. Can you imagine somebody gives you a blank check, and says, fill it up. And you write $2. And your friend writes $2 million. And you get $2 and he gets $2 million. And then you start kicking yourself. Yeah, you should. Because you could have written a few extra zeros. And that's exactly the life of a person in this world. We get to write the majority of the things that happens. Chutz mirat shamayim includes a whole lot of things. Especially our, faith in the olam haba. It depends on our emotions, our aspirations, and our deeds. And that's 100% in our hands. 100% of it is in our hands. How we deal, what happens to us in life sometimes is not in our own hands, but how you deal with it, 100% is in our hands. And you get to fill up that check. So it says in Yesharim, שאין המדרגות המתחלקות בעולם האמיתי, that in עולם הבא, how do they rank people? Every person that has emunah will tell you, well, depends how you did over here. Depends how you performed. If you performed well, then you're going to be ranking high. If not, so then it depends. שהוא העולם הבא, אלא לפי המעשים, it's all going to be based on your actions, based on the מעשים. ושלא יתרומם שם אלא מי שהוא רב המעשים מחברו. The only way to be higher than your friend is to be more of מעשים טובים, תורה ומעשים טובים. Every aspect of tzedakah, Torah, tefillah, mitzvot, even good thoughts. מחשבה טובה, הקדוש ברוך הוא מצרפה למעשה. חשב לעשות מצווה ונאנס ולא עשה, מעלה עליו הכתוב כאילו עשה. All the Gemarot that we have, they even think of something good, like the Gemara says in Brachot Avav. HaKadosh Baruch Hu counts all of those things. A little desire to closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu counts. And all of those things are things that make you higher than other people in Olam Haba. There's no doubts about it. Nobody that believes has any doubts about that. And says the Mesillat Yesharim, V'asher hu me'ata ma'asim, and person that has less ma'asim tovim, hu yihya shafal. He will be the one that's, lower. And the lower of level of ma'asim tovim, the lower level of olam haba. Im ken efo. Therefore, once we establish this, once we look at ourselves as ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim, we are believing Jews. You cannot find any from Jew that says, I don't believe in schar v'onish. It's just random. Right, we spoke about Rabbi Berg's so-called rabbi book of when bad things happen to good people. And all that, the things that come with it, the unfortunate reason that happened to him, that caused him to write it. But no frum person believes in that. We all believe that it depends on your actions. So if we believe in that, says the Mesillat Yesharim, what follows automatically afterwards? If you believe that this world is not hefker, and whatever you do is ayin ro'ah, it's an eye that sees, the ozen shoma'at, and the ear that hears, v'chol ma'asecha b'sefer nichtavim, and everything that you do and you say and you think, they're also the thought bubbles, right? It's like a comic book up there. All your thoughts also are written, right? B'sefer nichtavim, everything is recorded. Says the Mesillat Yesharim, how can a person close his eyes on the ma'asim or to minimize what he could do? If you know that you're going to regret this, with a little thing you could write another zero on your check. Every mitzvah that you do is another zero. Everything that you think of positivity. And you could literally go through one day and grab this mitzvah, that mitzvah, the other mitzvah. And the counter is counting, right? You'll regret it when the time is up, that moment that the clock zeros, and you have to leave. There is nothing else that you could do. Says the Mesillat Yesharim, there are foolish people. They want the easy route out. Right? We know a lot of people want the easy route. Again, we live in a generation that everyone wants easy pass. Right? You have the easy pass, you have the microwave generation. The attention spans are less than 8 seconds now in the United States. And people have no patience. You remember back in the day when internet was a new thing, and to load up a page, or the dial-up internet, you remember? Like line by line, it would take like 10 minutes for a thing to load up. Now you push a button, enter, you want to search, and it gives you 1.6 million results in 0.3 seconds, and you're still frustrated. Now you want to change your computer. Because we can't wait. We want the easy way. Everything has to be with the button, with this. But the outcome is very bad because you have a whole society that wants to not work and get paid. It's a real thing. People want to apply to jobs and show that they applied and get unemployment. They rather do that than climb up the ladder of success and become something in life. Can you believe that? Yes, it is. Unfortunately, the world we live in. But you have some foolish people who want the easy way out. Why should we bother ourselves so much? So many pious things that we have to do, and to stay away from things that we could get involved with, right? To abstain from pleasures of the world. We just don't want to be Reshaim. That's enough. Rabbi, what's the minimum? Tell me the minimum. I just don't want to be Rasha. As long as I pass, I don't need to be A+. I never was A+ student. I don't want to be A+ Jew either. Just as long as I don't get F, I'm good. Right? I don't want to be from those Reshaim who go to Gehinam. We're not going to push to be the front line of Gan Eden. If you don't get a big chelek in Olam Haba, we'll get a small portion. That's good enough. Good enough. Right? We are happy. We're going to be happy with that. It's going to be Ashir Hasameach Behelko. That's what they will tell you. We're not going to work harder because we want to get a bigger portion. Now, before he says what he says, let me tell you something. Rav Hirsch says something so magnificent. Says Rav Hirsch, why is Lashon Hara such a big Avera? Why? You have Gemarot that say unbelievable things about slander and Lashon Hara. Negative speech. Gemara, for instance, says in Erachin Daf Tetvav, a person that speaks Lashon Hara, send him to the dogs. The Gemara compares there the Avera of Lashon Hara with the 3 cardinal sins combined. Right? It's Magdil Avonot Keneged Shalosha Chamurot. You have Gimel Chamurot of Avodah Zarah, Gilui Arayot, Shvichut Damim, and Lashon Hara is. Why is it such a big deal? So you said something. So you said something negative. So what? And Rav Hirsch says something so fundamental and so powerful. So the greatest human nature is to want to be better than other people. That's how Hashem has wired our creation. We want to be better. We are competitive beings. We do not suffice with the minimum. We can't even tolerate somebody being better than us. It is difficult. It is painful for us to see someone else better. So you know what we do? We work hard to be better than other people. And there are 2 ways to be better than other people. One way of being better is the conventional way. You work hard, you climb up the ladder of growth and success, and you hope to look down and see everyone else is 100 levels behind, and you are soaring high. But you're working hard, you're toiling, you're working hard. That's the conventional way. Says Rav Hirsch, there's another way, the cheating way. The cheating way is, if I'm here and my friend is up here, if I put him down and trash him in front of other people's perception, then the perception has it that I am higher. I didn't work a second. I just said a few jokes. I just brought up a little bit of his past and a little bit of the private juicy information that I knew about him. And there we go, and I put it now on an autopilot on social media, and for Le'olam Va'ed until Biat Mashiach Va'ad Bichlal is going to be reaping the increasing exponential damage that I just created. Right? And of course this guy is going to have it's going to be reaping increasing exponential Geinam that he has created for himself. Because, says Rabbi Hirsch, you know why? Because you are ruining the society. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has put this midah in us for the community to grow, for humanity to want to be better. And you're stopping that. You're stopping it by a very negative force. But be that as it may, says Rabbi Hirsch, the greatest level of human nature is the fact that we can't take other people being higher. We want to live up to our best. Now Hashem has put that in, like the Gemara says in Masechet Baba Batra Daf Chaf Aleph, Hashem has put that in order for us to perfect ourselves in the relationship we have with Him. Kinat Sofrim Tarbeh Chochmah, says the Gemara. You see someone is finishing Shas Mishnayot. This guy is finishing Shas Mishnayot and I haven't done it yet. I was just counseling somebody last week, and he tells me, he's a young Bachur, and he tells me he has memorized the entire Tanakh. Well, that's a feat. He has memorized the entire Tanakh. Any pasuk in Tanakh, anywhere. You start it, he will finish it. That's a real feat. And this is a regular person. And a person that hears that feels like, I haven't even finished Tanakh once. And that's a good feeling, because you want to push yourself. Like we were here on Motzai Simchat Torah. And the last Hakafot Sheniyot, we sold it with Dapei Gemara. Not with money, with the real currency. How many Dapim of Gemara, how many pages of Gemara you going to finish? I had this young Bochrim, young boys. It says 1,400. And this is like 2,000. Like 800, 900, 1,000. We had overall everyone together. We had 12,000 dapim of Gemara we did. That's like 4 times finishing Shas plus. And there was somebody there, a very successful, amazing person, a person that I personally love, admire, I love him. And he told me afterwards, he said, if I would want to buy for money, I would have no problem. But I felt like an ani. I felt like an ani in front of this Bahrain. Sometimes I feel like an ani also. It's like, Baruch Hashem, they have all the day, or the whole time. They're not as busy, they could do it, just sit and learn. Tremendous. But that's what it's made for. It's in human nature that we want to push. And system session, don't let Yetzer Hara fool you to think that you're not going to need a big piece of Olam Haba. Even in this world, which is bin laila ayaw, bin laila avad, it's a finite, temporary world. Temporary is like, oh, he has a better Airbnb than me, right? Yeah, wait 2 days, it's going to finish. You know. But even that we cannot take. You think you could take the Olam Va'ed, the world of eternity, and then you cannot change it even. Here people are envious while they could change it. You know, one of the biggest disasters of life is people spend the good time of their life that they could grow being envious of other people. And they don't think for a second, just stop envying and go do something. You could do, no one's stopping you. Even if you don't become him, but you could become you. You could become better. By Olam Haba, time is up. Not an iota of change. And it's to whatever position you freeze yourself at the end of your life, that's it. It's forever. And you can't change it. You think you can live with that? You think you can live with that? Seeing that somebody that was so much lower than you, he pushed himself and he became so much higher in the spiritual world. And look at him and look at you, and says the Mesillat Yesharim, we're going to see it together. That's basically. Let's ask the one question. Even a passing Olam Hazeh, that's going to be like a blink of an eye. Again, we go through this almost every time. As much as I can, I bring this out. To think of something that happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago. A big landmark that happened in your life. For someone is getting married, having the first child, getting the first deal, establishing their office, whatever it is that you did. And think of how fast they passed. Boom. It's a blink of an eye. And you have 6 of those blinks of an eye in life. Because until 20, a person is not mature. After 80, you're on a downhill. So 6 of them. And even that, you see one of your friends is more respectable, he drives a better car, he has a better house, he's more kavod and status, and especially if he becomes your landlord, now he's controlling you, And especially if he was lower than you to begin with, you were smarter, you were better, you were classmates, and you always said, this guy's a loser. And now the loser is better than you. People who were peddlers and paupers, and now they're higher. You're not gonna. Of course you're gonna get hurt. Of course you're going to be pained. Your blood is going to be bubbling inside of you if you have that. You're not going to take it well. Vadai. Everything that people do is to be better than other people. Many people already are set. If they want to live a simple life, they can live a simple life today. Stop working, start learning. You can live, you can support yourself. Well, people work hard because they want to be better than other people. They want to make it above the average line and much higher than above. That's why we push hard. It's not because we need the necessities of life, especially in the society we live in. You don't even have to work to make the necessities of life. But yet everyone does. Because everyone wants, deep down, to be mechubad, to be respected. And respected is very much subjective. So you're comparing yourself with the society and you want to be higher. There's no denying that. Now multiple that by 1,000,000 or trillion, and that would be the feeling that the person would have when things are real. Over here, being more rich, it's not necessarily better. You know, when you're in capacity of a psychologist or a therapist or someone that has to act like a therapist, wear those hats in their clergy capacity or their pastoral things that they have to do, you will know very well that people's bank account has nothing to do with their level of happiness in life, necessarily. It gives you power, it gives you comfort. Those are important things. And whoever denies it is jealous. Right? It's good. It's not bad to be rich. It is difficult to be rich because it comes with a set of challenges of its own. Shlomo HaMelech was a wise man. He asks not to be rich. He asks that before he asks not to be poor. Right? Osher v'rash al titen li, he asks Hashem. V'na'ashir v'kichashti v'amarti mi Hashem. V'nivaresh v'gazalti. It has its own things. So even what people dream of is not necessarily great. I just had a very wealthy person this past week, Mamash, maybe a week or a few days ago, came to me, and another person that I really, really am close with him. I love him. He's a tremendous person, good person. And confided with me for the first time. He said, I'm depressed. Now, I don't even know how rich they're. They're, the real upper echelon of the community. And you would sit there in disbelief. And even for that, we kill ourselves. To be just a little millimeter higher than somebody else. And you want in Olam Haba, the world of reality, the only thing that really means something, closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the levels up there are real. And they're eternal. Says the Yesharim, over here in this world, that's finite. Any person that you can get ahead of, you want to get ahead of. You want to put your seat amongst the who's who list. That's the jealousy of a person to his friend. If you see somebody else is developed, is becoming better, and you stay down, the pain that you're going to experience is a pain that you have to go through. You can't stop it. It's the nature of a person's feeling. When you see someone that should not have been higher than you is much higher. Your heart would be diminished inside you. And now imagine to yourself, says the Mesillat, if in such a fantasy world, this world is, you think rich is good, and yet in such a fantasy world, it's so difficult for a person to be lower than anyone else. Even though that the levels are not real levels, doesn't define your happiness or your joy, inner joy. If you research it, you'll see, by the way, that the highest levels of committed suicide is in the higher echelons of community. Higher levels of depression for sure is there, right? And yet, says the Mesillat, with all of that given, you don't want it. You want to be higher. And you can't take someone else being higher than you. In Olam Hazeh, being lower financially or status-wise is just the surface level. Even being higher is shav v'sheker, is lie and bogus. And yet, in Olam Haba, how can you tolerate someone being higher than you when it's all you're doing? You could have been higher, you could have been much better, but you didn't. Because you didn't focus on it. And that, in Olam Haba, is an eternal thing. And the levels there are real solid levels. It's not, it's not just a facade. It's real. Even though that nowadays, today, you may not realize this, you may not value it the way you should, and that's why you don't care about it so much. When it comes the time for it, you'll realize it, and the pain and the embarrassment is going to be real. It's going to be one continuous, massive, and eternal sar and pain. Now, therefore, you see from here, says the Mesillat, this that they say, well, we don't need to be high up, Rabbi. Just give me, as much as I don't get fail, I pass, it's good enough for me. I don't need a big real estate over there. All of this that people say or think, that they want to make it easier for themselves and not work hard to do the mitzvot properly and to be committed and dedicated. This is one big trick of Yetzer Hara that literally fools us. There's no truth in it at all. There's no truth in it at all. If a person knows, again, it goes back to the story of the diamonds that we mentioned. If you have a currency, if I tell you every pebble that you gather from here, I'll give you the weight of a diamond, and you believe this, if you believe in the system of schar v'onesh, that if I do this, I'll get that. So for every pebble, I get the weight of it in diamond. What would you be doing? Be'emet, what would you be doing? Even if people think that you're a not crazy person for going around picking pebbles, you're going to be laughing at them in your heart. And you're going to be gathering those pebbles until you literally fall apart. Because you don't want to lose one more diamond. Even though that you're a billionaire already, but you don't want to lose it. One more. You'll fill every pocket and every cavity of your body that you could fit anything in it. And you'll be packing those pockets. So if a person has emunah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that when you do mitzvot, again, you can't live a double life. If you're from and you believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and in schar v'onesh, that is exactly what we believe in. You believe in the currency of mitzvot and in olam haba. And if a person has that currency, then it's a disconnect if you're not working hard to get there. And says the Mesillat Yesharim, let's just finish this part. If you would be able to see this pebble diamond correlation, you would have no safek, you would have no doubt, and you would not have anything stopping you from bulldozing through life, finding those pebbles, those mitzvot in our mashal. אבל לפי שאין מבקשים אותו והולכים ושוגים לרצונם, הנה לא יוסר מהם פיתוים עד זמן אשר לא יועיל להם. But because we don't think about it like this, and it's not clear to us, we just waste the time doing other stuff until it's too late. Until a person is 70, 80 and looks back and says, I blew it. Right? We mentioned this before, the founder of Walmart. Last 3 words that he said. A man that was worth $5 billion was one of the 4 richest people in the world back then. And he hardly brought himself to say those words. The last moments of his life, I blew it. You know how painful it's going to be for a person when he's 70, when his body's full of pain, looking back at life and say, I blew it. I became rich, I became a billionaire, but I blew it. Blew it. Who, I don't want to put anyone in on spot, but who can say that we're not going to look back and say, we blew it? We know a whole lot of things that we should be doing, but we get defocused in life. Because there's so much going on, so much amazing things, stuff going on in life. And if you don't stay focused on this satellite connection of your GPS, your satellite will be most definitely lost. And you'll take tangents in life to take you who knows where. When it's too late, when you look back and you say, I blew it, it's too late. He's referring to the moments after death. But even at old age, when you don't have the same capability and capacity, health, and wherewithal, it's too late. This is what Kohelet says in Perek Tet Pasuk Yud. Anything you could do with your power now, do now. Don't wait for the Yamim Asher Tomar Inni Ba'em Chefes. We're connecting with a different Pasuk. Don't wait for the moments that you say, I can't do it anymore. I'm too old, too frail. Don't have the koach, don't have the ratzon, don't have the desire anymore to do it. Don't wait for them. Whatever you could do now, today, do it. It could be as simple as saying, I'm committing myself to 3 minyanim a day. I'm committing myself to coming on time. I'm committing myself to a shiur in the morning, a shiur in the afternoon. These are simple things. Or it could be more profound. I'm committing myself to finishing Shas Mishnayot this year. Rain or shine, I'm going to do it. Committing myself to doing Daf Yomi. Committing myself to finishing Shas. Finishing Shulchan Aruch. Getting my smicha. Committing myself to mitzvot ben adam lechavero. I'm going to work on not getting angry anymore. I'm going to work on giving tzedakah, not being stingy. Or I'm giving tzedakah already, but I want to do 20% like the Vinagaon and many other poskim. Whatever it is that you want to do. Whatever you could do, says Shlomo, do it now. Don't wait. What were you waiting for? Those are the moments that other people are getting ahead. And you're just standing by, doing nothing. Says because there's no action, no adding cheshbon, nothing in the grave that you are headed towards. There's none of this that you could do. Time's out. When time is out, you can't do anything anymore. Says the Yesharim, The reason Shlomo HaMelech says that a person does not do things when they could do it. You can no longer do it after death. It's out of your hand. If a person did not do maasim tovim while alive, you can't do it afterwards. Can't. A person could make an account to give benefits to him afterwards. You build a yeshiva, build a kollel. Everything they learn, it's going to be in your zchuyot afterwards. But actions you cannot do afterwards. Things that you could do today, you can't do afterwards. A person that did not make a cheshbon hanefesh of his action, accounting of his actions, you can no longer do it afterwards. It doesn't work. A person that did not learn Torah, didn't become a hacham. In grave, you're not going to become wiser. You can't. And that's what Shlomo HaMelech says. There's no wisdom, no action, no additional things in the grave that you're going there. So do it now. Do it today. I always say, there are today Jews and then there are tomorrow Jews. And the only successful people are the today people. Hayom im bekoli tishma'u. Today. Everything that tzaddikim did was today. Avraham Avinu, everything is quick. He never put it for tomorrow. Whoever tells you tomorrow, you don't believe in them. This the Rashi says that Gedolei Midyan, when they went to Bil'am with Sarei Moav, they had a Mesorah. They said, we will see. If he says, I'll answer you tomorrow, this is a guy that's not going to do the job, we leave. They left that night. He said, let me until tomorrow. He said, forget about it. Because a tomorrow person is not a person that you want to deal with. You want to be a today person. Hayom im bekoli tishma'u. Today. You could do it today. Why are you not doing it today? And that's the second group, which encompasses the most of humanity. People who want to be zahir in their actions because they make a basic karvachomer. So I can't even take somebody being higher than me in this world. I don't want to be down up there. I'm going to push because I don't want to be a loser. So it's not such a sophisticated way of being inspired, but it's a massive way of being inspired. And it's good enough for most people. Not to be fooled to say, I'll just get a little piece of olam haba. It's enough for me. No, it's not. You can't take it someone being an inch higher than you over here in this world, which is a facade. And that should invigorate a person. That should push a person for pushing higher and higher and not delaying things, not waiting for things. Valuing the real currency of their life and taking it serious like a business. That you will grab an opportunity the moment that you can, and Bezrat Hashem, through that it will be a successful thing. The third and final one of them, Bezrat Hashem, will start and study together in the shiurim to come. Chazak u'baruch. Thank you.